to the Moscow Kremlin. That was per tradition. On the 18th of May, 1896, celebration began at Khatynka in Moscow. Usually when a new Tsar arrived, they would give out sweets, souvenirs, even sometimes money to people. And of course, as you could only live for one coronation, or maybe two, people usually flocked to get more things, more items. So to notice, Khatynka was a place where Gagarinizm had been. So they dug a lot of trenches, holes, and so when people went in, some of them just collapsed through the holes. And it was an absolute disaster. With 1,300 people killed, and many thousands injured in this stampede. Nicholas, at the same time, was faced with a dilemma. Should I continue going to those celebrations, or should I hold them? His mother told him to stop them, while his wife told him to continue with the celebrations, to visit the ambassador of France. That was what he intended to do. And he did not stop the celebrations and went to the ball arranged with French diplomat. On the next morning, when this news broke, no one was already looking at how Nicholas had come to the hospitals or how he was looking for the wounded or what he said. Everyone looked at the fact that he had went to that ball and that he was a king who did not care about his subjects. And this began a chain of tragic events, starting with this, the Russo-Japanese War, Revolution of 1905, World War I, and then finally his deposition in 1917. So his personal life. As was usual for all kings of all ages, they needed a male heir. And they couldn't get a male heir. They got 5 daughters, but that's not what they needed. So he began truth-seeking, trying to mend ties of the population, trying to find a person who could tell him the truth, unlike what he saw as the lying ministers. And because they couldn't bear a child, his wife began being interested in the occult and spiritual. She would go to spiritual seances. So why is this important? Because there is a man called Grigory Rasputin who many of you know, and many people just think, no, he just appeared out of nowhere. But it is during this period of time that his wife becomes interested in the occult and spiritual. That's why she could trust someone like Grigory Rasputin. Finally, in 1903, Alexei was born. But despite their happiness, the family soon realized he had a terrible disease, hemophilia, which is passed on by the females in that family. So here are some important events between 1896 and 1905. This would mark the beginning of active terrorism. So first was the assassination of the Minister of Education, then the Minister of the Interior. So it was hard times for the nobility and for the Tsar, because order was already beginning to collapse. And this would, in 1905, which would become important here, this would just be exposed even more. Also, there will be the formation of the SRs, Socialist Revolutionaries, and other radical socialist organizations. And the SRs, why did they become so famous during this period of time? Was because they had an active terrorist wing. They would sabotage, they would commit terrorist assassinations. Another important group that appeared at this point in time had a Founding Congress in 1898, where, of course, there was Lenin, was RSDLP, or the Russian Social Democratic Labour Party. It was the first Marxist-inspired movement in Russia. So, in 1904, seeing that the popularity of the Tsar was on an all-time low, the nobility and his surrounding advisors, they advised him to go to war with Japan. Japan was seen as an outsider, someone who they'd beat in a few months. But the nobles even referred to the Japanese as monkeys, quite a racist term, but racism is sometimes visible in history. And this, the defeating the war with Japan, would begin the 1905 revolution. So the 1905 revolution. In 1904, the Tsar seemingly moved to reform. So he appointed the liberal Svetopolk Mirsky. When he spoke at this Congress, remember Congress was Amsterdam, he said that it was time to move with reforms. And the only person not to stand in clap innovations was a person I already mentioned, Konstantin Petrovich Volkanovsky. So, however, there was beginning to spread a rumor about a large demonstration carrying a petition to go to the Winter Palace. And the Akhrana, which is the secret service of Russia, they said that they were dangerous, that this was a revolution. And he went to Tsarskoye Selo to hide. And he wasn't there in the Winter Palace when the protesters finally came, about 200,000 people. It's larger than any demonstration in modern Russia, I believe. Or they walked to the Winter Palace to present a petition. However, the Tsar wasn't there. So the leader of Akhrana of the Winter Palace, the guards of the Winter Palace, they were given orders to fire, and they did. So thousands of people were killed. Official estimates by the Tsar's government were 136 people. However, a more accurate prediction would be more than 500. It was a massacre. And the Tsar didn't know about this. He was only given reports about 300 workers going to the Winter Palace and easily dispersed. So when there was a string of political terrorism, a complete collapse of order, he wasn't really sure why it wasn't what to do. There was everyone at that point began to strike. Even the ballet was striking. People like Silenkov, a famous terrorist, would walk down the streets and no one would even care. And the Tsar was trapped in Petergov because there was political terrorists all around Petergov, so he was forced to stay there. And there were jokes around Europe about how the Tsar's family was too large to fit in any European country. However, the thing that turned the tide was the Portsmouth Peace Treaty. So many of you might think that what does the Portsmouth Peace Treaty have to do with a revolution? The Portsmouth Peace Treaty was led by Vita. He was the leader of Russian delegation. At first, most of the conservatives were triumphant. They believed that how could you possibly change the fate of Russia to lose the Russo-Japanese War? But it turned out that the conditions of the deal were far better to Russia than was expected. So Nicholas II, realizing that Vita was actually a very capable statesman, agreed to sign his October Manifesto, but he was reluctant. Nicholas II, often when he was given a choice, he couldn't say yes or no. He had to wait until someone would support his position. And he still wanted his uncle, Nicholas, who was a very strong-willed man. He wanted to impose him as military dictator, but even Nicholas refused. He said that there is no army is going to listen. So, in October 17, 1905, there was the signing of the October Manifesto. And this led to the family really closing in, isolating themselves. This is the time of the first Duma. At first, the October Manifesto seems to look like a constitution, like in modern terms. But when they summoned the first Duma, it was made up of moderate leftists, even to radical socialists such as the Essaires, and became known as the Duma of Public Anger. So what did Nicholas II think about this? So there is an idea in Russia that only strong rulers could be, that Russia can't be a democracy. And he only reinforced this idea, even writing that Russia can't be a democracy, it needs a ruler. So in 1906, he sends away Vita and appoints Stolypin. Stolypin was known as a liberal until I don't remember in his family, but one of his relatives was assassinated. So he turned away from liberalism completely and only supported economic reforms. But was assassinated in 1911. By the time of World War I, there were basically no civil liberties. The promised allowance to strike, 8-hour work week, we weren't actually supported by World War now, and there is a relative stabilization in Russia by 1913. A common myth is that Russia was poor, that Russia was bad, that Russia was really undeveloped, and that the Russian Revolution was inevitable. Of course, this opinion-based whether you think the Russian Revolution was inevitable or no. But the economy was growing on rapid paces in 1913. Even one French economist, when coming to Russia, said, Russia is going to rule Europe in 50 years. Now, a famous man who many people know, Grigory Rasputin. He was born in a small Siberian village, and until 30 he was a drunk. He would just go around, he wasn't known by anyone. But then at 30 he returned to his house and something changed him. Some people believe that he spoke to some students about the Bible and changed his ways. So he began praying, going to holy places, and basically began the life of a starets, or holy man. So in 1904 he appears in St. Petersburg, and the Tsar's family take him in. There's a very interesting story about this. I don't know if I should tell you because it's just like some extra details, but basically, the Tsarina, Alexandra, she had a very good friend, Anya Vorobova, who introduced her to Rasputin. So he helps the heir, Alexei, during his problems. So I remember reading the textbook Mr. Anderson gave me, and it said that Rasputin didn't actually do any mystical acts. But I think after reading a few other materials, it's quite interesting because there were a lot of moments when he would just communicate with them through a phone or through telegraphs, and Alexei would just be cured. So he becomes one of the closest people to the Tsar's family, but he had very scandalous antics. He would go to bars, he would live a luxurious life, and he was seen by the royal family, by his friends, by his siblings and close people to Tsar Nicholas as a bad influence. However, there is this argument that, they could have just sent Grigory Rasputin away. They couldn't, because firstly, he helped her son. He was the only real help to her son. He was the only person who actually could help their son. And secondly, which is less known, is that he helped to spiritually guide Alexandra, and he influenced a lot of her decisions. So, the Great War, or World War I. So, he would initially be very reluctant to go to war with Germany, and however, many of his ministers, especially his foreign minister, advised him to do it. So he declared total mobilization, and there was initial enthusiasm about the war. People were happy, everyone rallied around the Tsar as the national leader. However, this also came with something bad. There was growing anti-German feeling. There was also Germanophobia. And they were targeted as his wife, who was a German. They called her a Niemka, a German, and they called her a spy often. In 1915, Russia was losing the war. We were losing many battles. Russia was unprepared for this war. And Nicholas II, instead of giving it to someone more capable, instead of that, he declares himself supreme commander of the army. So, when there are defeats, he gets all the blame for it. Of course, there were victories, and usually Russian newspapers celebrated every victory, but there was too little by 1916 to celebrate. So 1916 would be a very important year. The war was being lost. It was the last year of the Roman family. And the Duma demanded that the Tsar gave a ministry liable only to the Duma, so they could appoint anyone. And he said no. He tries to get someone talented to end the Duma, to make them stop. But instead, whoever he appoints, the Duma doesn't listen to him. For example, one of those famous appointments was Protopopov. He isn't really famous in modern day, but what's important about Protopopov? Because Protopopov was seemingly someone from the Duma. He was supported by Radzianka, he was supported by a bunch of major liberals inside of the Duma. But when he came into power, when he came into a minister, everyone went against him. They said that he was an appointee of a German, Nicholas was his wife, and Rasputin. Finally, all of the family, except Alexandra, meets in Kiev. And the family tells Nicholas to do two things: end the influence of his wife and throw away Rasputin. He tries to somehow negotiate, but he has pressure from both his wife and from his family to do something. So he ends up in political isolation. He tries to do something, everyone is against it. Someone will be against it. And in the end, there is the death of Rasputin. But it comes a little too late, because the revolution was already coming. There was basically nothing to end it. So the new year is 1917. In the beginning, there is a secret plot inside of the military, Duma, to oust the Tsar. They believe that the Tsar is incapable of ruling anymore. And one of the most fervent of those revolutionaries is Luchkov. He would become a minister of defense in the provisional government. So he proposes that they wait until March, when the troops enter Petrograd, Duma, overthrow the Tsar, and declare situation of emergency, give the Duma power. But despite the nobility, the secret groups inside of the Duma dismissing Luchkov's proposal, the revolution comes in itself. People are hungry. There was barely any food left in St. Petersburg, or Petrograd as it became known at that time. And people went out to strike. And there was a big disbelief. Sorry. Sometimes this happens. So there is disbelief in the reality of the revolution. Akhrana text Nicholas, not text, but send a telegram, repeatedly. If they could text him, I think that the Russian revolution might not have happened at all. But Akhrana telegram him repeatedly, stating that there are strikes, people are hungry, but he doesn't believe them. So no steps are made by the Tsar to make peace with the Duma. He just dismisses any idea of revolution. Because still, there's this idea that Russian people are obedient, they will never rise up against the Tsar, they need a guiding hand. So, because of this, there's a February Revolution. So 24th of February, there are hunger strikes, growing unrest, and on the 25th, they tell the Cossacks, who are usually the most loyal divisions to the Tsar, to go and disperse the protesters. But instead, they begin to disperse the police that are trying to disperse the protesters. And they begin to meet, I don't know how to translate the word, but they make peace with the protesters, with the strikers. When the Tsar finds out about the protesters being bad, he doesn't wish to return. This would be the trait of Nicholas that haunts him for much of his decisions. When something bad happens, he just leaves. So when he does decide to go back, it's a little too late. Because the Tsar, returning, he doesn't know about the strikes. And his wife later writes him letters about how the garrison is revolted. And in the end, when the family, all of the family realizes that it's time for reforms, that it's time to negotiate with the Duma, it's a little too late, because when they bring a manifestation signed by the Tsarina, speaking about a liable Duma, They have very different demands: abdication of the Tsar, constitutional monarchy, and even some republic. Yes?
What are the Cossacks?
So the Cossacks, they originated in the Volga, and they were, how can I say it? They were warrior people, and they would be taken into the army from a very early age, and they would serve in the army basically, and they were usually very loyal to the Tsar. So, Mandarin monarchy. On the 2nd of March 1917, he abdicated in favor of his brother. But his brother, who was actually, there is a myth about his brother not being weak-willed, but he was actually also very weak-willed, as stated by his mother. She said, I find Nicholas as weak-willed, but Misha, Mikhail, is even more weak-willed. So he hopes for a peaceful life in England. The provisional government begins negotiations with England, and he wants to live in a patch of land. Many people state that he always just wanted to be a farmer and live in his family farm, but that wouldn't happen. The British monarchy, England wouldn't accept him. He's initially kept at Tsarskoye Selo, but then he's moved to Tobolsk in August, and he lives there until April, and when he's moved to Yekaterinburg, to Ipatiev House. This is the Ipatiev House. So, what's ironic about the name is because the first Romanov, Michael Romanov, was praying in the Ipatiev monastery when he was told that he was Tsar, and the monarchy died in the Ipatiev House. So he would be executed on the 17th of July 1918. And legacy. So, after the revolution, he was portrayed as a bloody and often weak monarch. So, I spoke to my mom about how we were educated, and she said that they weren't really told much about Nicholas II. They were more told about the revolution. But I think there is a reason for that. It's because they were executed. Why would the Soviet Union want to tell about one of their crimes? So officially, they were canonized in 2003, but the exiled Orthodox Church in America, I believe, they canonized him in 1981, and he wasn't canonized as a saint. He was canonized as a martyr, and actually the lowest rank of saints, basically. Nicholas II remains a very controversial figure in Russian history. Some call him, whenever we refer to like a weak ruler in Russian, they call him, he's like Nicholas II. But ever see his time after he was arrested and deposed as something unjustified. And I agree with both sides, to be honest, because both of them have some truth in them.
Dima, what does canonized mean?
It's when you're made a saint. So the Russian Orthodox Church, they sometimes have meetings and discuss about which people could be classified as saints or should be made saint. And this is, of course, the icon for family. Thank you for listening.
Dima,
Yes?
is there a reason why people chose this, like their family to be canonized?
The reason was that, I believe, it was because they were deeply Christian and religious, and that they were survived. I think it wrote in the official document. I didn't read it, but I think it wrote that they suffered a lot for their faith. Because, there isn't, I think, a specific reason. I think just as an example of, yes?
I think the majority of Tsars were canonized, weren't they? Because basically they wanted them to look like they were Christian for the population to take example.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so, very good. Can I ask a question, Dima? I thought that was excellent, by the way. Can I just ask, you said that the reforms came a little bit too late. Do you think that if there had been more liberalisation and there had been more liberal reforms, but what happened in 1917 could have been avoided? Or do you think it was more a case of Obviously, Nicholas II went along the lines of it's God's will, and that was his catchphrase, if you like, for whenever he was making a decision. But him going off to Germany, well, going off on the front line himself and being the general, whilst, as you alluded to, he left Rasputin and his German wife, Alexandra, to run the country back home. And do you think that was more what the public resented? I suppose, which one of those factors do you think was the biggest in what happened?
So, that's a very interesting question. And I think there could be arguments both ways. But if you ask different historians, they would provide different points of view. One point of view suggests that World War I destroyed Russia. That's true. Russia wasn't ready for World War I. Had Russia stayed out of World War I, probably it would be a monarchy today. Liberal reforms were going to come at some point. Had he reformed earlier, maybe over Duma, I don't think he would be a supreme commander. Maybe even Russia could be ready for World War I, but still, I don't think Russia was. That's going too much into alternate history, hypothetical scenarios type of territory.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was excellent.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, if you want to say something.